Hey, welcome to this special college football kickoff 2025 preview show. We are breaking down the Oregon State Beavers. I'm your host, Jamie Hudson. Of course, there are a ton of storylines surrounding this Beavers team as we enter the 2025 season, the final season of the Pac-12 featuring the two schools of Oregon State and Washington State before things will expand in 2026. But we are here to focus on the present and Oregon State's fall camp. It is already underway. The Beavs gearing up, of course, for this season, and the opener is all set for August 30th. Our Brenna Green reports from Corvallis.
There were so many questions looming around this Oregon State football program heading into fall camp last year. It was the first year under Trent Bray. The fate of the Pac-12 was up in the air, and who would start at quarterback was unknown. Those questions a bit more settled heading into the 2025 season. What's it like just coming into fall camp this time and knowing your future for this program compared to last year when there were so many?
No, there's no question. It's definitely more comforting. One, we love our schedule, the strength of our schedule, who we're playing. We're excited about that, but then also knowing our future in the Pac-12 moving forward is exciting for our guys and gives us stability, recruiting, and retaining our own guys.
I definitely have a strong opinion in the locker room. I think the guys kind of respect what I'm talking about when I open my mouth. So I feel like that's huge as a quarterback and as a leader for sure. And you know that kind of keeps me on my toes as well, whether that's making sure everybody's on time, making sure everybody's working as hard as they possibly can, and, letting them know that they can hold me accountable as well.
Thanks so much, Brenna. Hey, joining us now, who better to break down the Beavs than the voice of the Beavers, Mike Parker. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time to talk some Oregon State football with us.
Jamie, it's great to see you again. This is an exciting time of year as we build towards the season opener. And I've been doing this now. This will be my 27th year, and it's a little bit like opening day in Major League Baseball, opening day in football. You get through the grind of camp, and there's nothing like when the summer weather is still with us and the team gets to run out at Reser Stadium and play an old familiar foe in the California Golden Bears, kind of a throwback kind of feel. I'm excited to see what's in store here for Trent Bray in year two.
Mike, we're excited as well. Also, congrats on year 27. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, so with this fresh season on the horizon for OSU, we know last year the team had that hot start but stumbled late. Has the squad's identity changed at all this season? And how would you say this team is quite a bit different than what we saw last year?
Brenna's report, Jamie, was spot on in terms of highlighting the two people that I'm most excited about for a variety of reasons. But Trent Bray, the head coach in year two, and getting his hands back on the defense. He was champing at the bit last season when there were struggles on D. And he loves, and we all loved, his predecessor in that position. But when Trent Bray was the D coordinator, in recent seasons, the Beaver defense was among the best in the country. And I think with Trent getting his hands back on it again, it's going to be very good. So I'm excited for Trent in year two, having so many of those first-year head coaching experiences under his belt, but getting back to his bliss and coaching up the D. And then Maalik Murphy featured in that report by Brenna. Maalik, there's a reason he was a five-star guy coming out of Sarah High School and going to Texas. And that's who he still is, in my opinion, and who is going to be that kind of leader, quarterback, physical tools, charismatic personality. Guys look up to him, believe in him. So way ahead. A year ago, Jamie, at this time, the program with Trent, year two, D coordinator again, and a proven quarterback that I think is going to do special things, makes me really excited about August 30th against Cal and the season ahead.
Yeah, Mike, we want to dive in a little more into Maalik Murphy's game. What is it that you think could work so well with this Beavers offense?
He can make every throw, and that's a cliche said of many quarterbacks, but I've seen him make every throw, and throws that there are times even when he's on his back foot and maybe shouldn't throw it, that he's still able to throw the ball on target. He's able to keep plays alive. He's a pocket passer, doesn't look to evade or run. I mean, he can run, and he will when necessary, but he's a pure pocket passer who reads defenses well, just the experience that he brings. I think Maalik Murphy is going to be a difference maker in terms of how he distributes the football, and shares it with a growing wide receivers room as the season goes along. I think you'll see a lot of new names, maybe some unfamiliar names in the receiving room, some running backs featured as pass receivers. And I think being able to get the ball over the top, that's going to be a difference from what we didn't really see that last year. Maalik Murphy can flat out throw the long ball, and there's some guys with the requisite speed to be on the receiving end of those throws. I think Maalik just opens up the playbook in a way the Beavers didn't have last year in year one with Ryan Gunderson as the OC. Maalik Murphy gives Ryan and that whole offense a lot more to work with.
Now, Mike, earlier you were mentioning the defense. Let's go back to that side of the ball for a moment. Will you give me a player or players that you think are going to be the X factor for Trent Bray's defense in 2025?
Trent is an outstanding defensive coach in all phases of it, but his heart and soul is with the inside linebackers. And he's got a guy that made a number change, number 55 to number 7, and look for 7 in Dexter Foster, who went to Roosevelt in Portland, finished up at Central Catholic. The Beavers got in on him, as the phrase goes, in recruiting parlance early before, they got there before the world would have, because this guy, I think, has a chance to play the game a long time. So I think Dexter Foster is an X factor just in terms of how impactful he'll be on this defense in year 2. I know Coach Bray loves him, and then the transfer also inside, the transfer from USC, Rajon Davis. Those two guys alone, Jamie, give on the interior of that defense some big-time playmaking ability, explosiveness, and so on. And then on the back end, the Beavers at the safety position, nickel and corner, particularly 3 safeties that can really play right now in Skylar Thomas, Tyrese Ivey Jr., and Jaheim Patterson. These are all big-time impact players. I really love what Trent's got on defense to work with.
Mike, there's so many new faces on this Beavers squad. So is there somebody that maybe a lot of fans aren't too familiar with yet that you do expect to make a jump this season?
Well, yes. And I do think that one of the guys that you'll see make an impact is Marquise Crosby in the running back room. The Beavers have 2 really good running backs in Anthony Hankerson and Salah Allah, as he's going by this year. Saladin Allah. I look forward to touchdown Salah Allah for the Beavers. I'm looking forward to calls like that. Salah's not a new name, but he's going to be much more of a featured name. And then in that running back room, the transfer from Louisiana Tech, Marquise Crosby. Listen for him. He was a former near 1,000-yard rusher in college and has had some injury issues and so on, but I think he's going to impact the running back room significantly this year. And I think another name that we can look for to make a jump is Malachi Durant as a wide receiver. Maalik Murphy works with a lot of his receivers so very well. There's another name, too, that I think we should keep in mind, Eddie Freeoff. Eddie Freeoff, the pride of Crook County High School in Prineville. Another guy that kind of, I think, because of his sheer physical size and athletic and physical ability, he somehow, and maybe it's because he's in Prineville and Crook County, there weren't recruiters beating a huge path to his door, but Oregon State, through the relationships that they build with young student athletes everywhere, but in particular in the Beaver State, found him, recruited him before he had really, I think, caught the eye of a lot of people on the West and around the country. But look for Eddie Freeoff out of Crook County High School to be an impact player in the receiving room. And there are other players, too. I mentioned Rajon, a newcomer, transfer from USC. But I do think the guys that I've mentioned are going to be significant players from the get-go for this Oregon State team.
Mike, that's so awesome. Great insight there from you. But as we look at the progress in this program and how they look to continue to improve, of course, we're looking for the Beavs bench boss. He's going to be improving too from year 1 to year 2. So with Trent Bray, what do you think with a head coach like Trent? How can he improve from year 1 to year 2?
He had so many things on his plate last year, Jamie, just in terms of taking the program over in a chaotic time with the head coach leaving, who had done a great job, and taking much of the staff and several of the key players with him. The thing that Trent did last year, and even though I know as competitive as he is, to finish the way they did down the stretch after the good start that you've alluded to earlier, it ate him up. This guy is as intense and as competitive a coach as I've ever been around. And I've been around Pat Casey for a long time too. So I think I know a little bit about what drives some of these people like Coach Casey, who Trent Bray says he's learned a lot from. Trent says he leans a lot on Mitch Canham. Trent was in uniform for one of the games this past spring at Goss Stadium at Coleman Field during the Beavers run to Omaha as an honorary coach. And he when I asked him about it, he said it's because he appreciates the competitiveness in Beaver baseball, and he comes to a lot of games. He's a former catcher himself, so he knows about leadership. He is just a born leader that these players absolutely love, gravitate to. They see his energy running from drill to drill. And he's back, as I said earlier, the biggest thing for Trent is he's back where he wants to be, running the defense. And we've seen that, over the years, Pete Carroll, I think 73, whatever he is now, Pete is still able, he's been able at USC, was able to be a head coach and a defensive coordinator for a team that won a couple of national championships. And it won't be too much for Trent. He's got good people around him. He's hired Rob Akey and Danny Langsdorff and some veteran guys who can help him with some of the, maybe the minutia of what's required to be a head coach. And he can just dive in full bore, coach defense up, but have a real feel for everything else going on in the program because he's surrounded himself with some outstanding veteran assistants. To bring Mike Cavanaugh back on the offensive line, that was a great move by Trent. So I just think he's so much more comfortable in year two when he was just trying to hold a staff and a roster together, the recruiting vision, and just who he is and what Oregon State football is all about. There's no better person right now to be running the program in this last and second year of some of uncertainty and an independent route. There's no better guy than Trent Bray to be running this program.
And Mike, it feels like he is such a player's coach, like at an elite level. You probably get to see that every day.
It's amazing to see how the players respond to him. Even after practices, his voice will rise up occasionally in team meetings at the end of every practice. And there's always something that elicits an incredible cheer from the group. And I can just tell in visiting with all of the players after practices, almost all of them will go out of their way to talk about Coach Bray and their belief in him and his energy. And that can't be manufactured. If it weren't true, the players wouldn't go there. They'd talk about their position coaches, which they do approvingly and glowingly. But so many of them come back to Trent, and I know they know that Trent's back where he belongs as the D coordinator. So Beaver Nation should be excited. The defense is going to be demonstrably more productive, attacking, aggressive. They'll get after the quarterback. A lot of things that were missing last year, Trent's going to restore, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. And the players love him. You're right. As a player's coach goes, maybe as good as anyone I've ever been around.
And you touched on the Beavers schedule a bit. Is there a specific matchup for the Beavs that really intrigues you this upcoming season?
Well, it's such that I'm going to have to cheat a little bit and review it. I should have it all down in my head. So, Jamie, if you don't mind,
when I take a
look at the schedule for 2025, I see Cal in the opener, and I like that because of the familiarity of an old Pac-12 opponent, heck, an old PCC Pac-8 opponent. We've been around the Golden Bears for a long time. And I like the fact that the Beavers open at home on an August 30th with a familiar foe. But I think on the schedule, almost every team the Beavers are playing, save for the one a little bit down the road from Corvallis, there's a lot of uncertainty in question marks about, Texas Tech and Lubbock is going to be a huge challenge. Don't get me wrong, there's challenges built into this, but the 7 home games and where the Beavers are in terms of their personnel and experience with head coaches, the Beavers are playing a lot of teams that have either new head coaches or new coordinators or all three of those key positions for a lot of their upcoming opponents in 2025. So I'm intrigued by the game in Lubbock. I think that game, week 2, Texas Tech, if the Beavers take care of their business and beat Cal and then go find a way to win that game, and I think they can, but if they're 2-0, I think that gives them a really intriguing Fresno State first, pardon me. Again, I don't have it all memorized. You got the openers with Cal and Fresno State, but then those first 2 road games. If you're 2-0 going to Lubbock and you're coming out of there 3-0, then you're playing with house money in a very real sense. Maybe not the right term to use in the modern era, but you've got, if you're 3-0, Jamie, coming into that game down the road in the rivalry game, whatever unfolds there, I think you have a chance to really have a special season. So the game, I suppose, it intrigues me early. They all do. But if you're 2-0 going to Lubbock and win that, I think you set yourself up for a really big year.
Ooh, that would be fun, Mike. Okay, we're going to close out with this. So, of course, this is the last year of the quote-unquote Pac-2 as we know it. Do you have one bold prediction for the Beavers this season?
Well, I'm looking forward to playing Washington State twice. I mean, that's unusual. It's happened before, not often. Usually, you know, a wartime situation created that, I believe, in 1945. But the Beavers have been fighting for their lives the last couple of years. So I'm intrigued by the fact that they've been able to put together this kind of schedule, trying to find openings with teams. And, you know, Jamie, they schedule these things years out. I think the Beavers are going to be my bold prediction is they're going to be extremely good on defense, and that defense will keep them in every game they're in. The defense is good enough to keep them in every game they play. It wasn't always the case a year ago. It will be this year. And I think that said, with Maalik Murphy at the helm at quarterback, this team has a chance to have a really big and special year. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they're necessarily going to be in the conversation. I'm not sure I'll stop short of saying that in terms of the expanded playoff format again. But I do think that they're going to be favored in a lot of games. They're going to win a lot of games. They're going to be exciting to watch. And I think Trent in year 2 with the quarterback positions solidified has a chance to have a double-digit win season. That's my bold prediction. I think that Lubbock game is kind of a swing game in that direction, but I think they have a chance to have a really big year.
Oh, great stuff. As always, from the voice of the Beavers, Mike Parker. Mike, thanks so much for joining us, and hey, best of luck in year 27, and not only to you, but to the Beavs as well.
Jamie, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. We look forward to doing it again and for a big year starting against Cal on the 30th.
Yes, we're looking forward to it. Thanks, Mike. Okay, next on this Oregon State College Kickoff Preview show, we're going to get a chance to hear from the coaches and the players themselves on this upcoming season. We'll be right back, but first, here's some Beaver trivia to test your brain. Welcome back to this College Kickoff Preview Oregon State edition. A big thank you to Mike Parker, the voice of the Beavers, for giving us all of that OSU insight in our last segment. It's always great to catch up with Mike. Of course, now, though, we're going to hear from the team themselves. Trent Bray entering year 2 at the helm. The former OSU linebacker is looking to continue to jumpstart this program. After a fast start to the year in 2024, the Beavs finished the season losing 6 of their last 7 games. But Coach Bray, he's piecing together this season's depth chart, and he's already discussed how team scrimmages have really been a helpful tool heading into this season.
We got a lot of guys reps, especially later in the scrimmage. Got a lot of young guys, new guys, a ton of reps, see what they can do, who can help us, who can't. So I thought it was great from that perspective. Saw plays being made on both sides of the ball. Maalik had some really nice throws. Eddie had a great catch in the end zone. Things we need to see on game day, so it was great. This was kind of the first audition to build their resume. They've had, 9 really good practices to this point. Right, live bullets today, tackling, getting guys on the ground, executing right, as we're moving the ball and when it counts. So this will be we'll reshuffle the depth chart for sure after this one. Then they got one more week, another audition next Saturday, and then we're on the Cal.
Man, who else is so excited to see Maalik Murphy in his debut with the Beavs going up against Cal? We know there's lots of history between the Beavs and the Golden Beavers, so this is going to mark the 77th all-time matchup between these two. Oregon State has won 4 of their last 6. The big storyline this offseason for the Beavs, of course, has been that arrival of Maalik Murphy. The Duke transfer, he is expected to be the starting quarterback after setting a Blue Devils single-season record of 26 touchdowns. He was one of the biggest names in the transfer portal this offseason, and he will likely, of course, fill the team's biggest positional need at QB. Now, despite a record-breaking season with the Blue Devils last year, Murphy is still all about looking to improve in 2025.
Yeah, I just got to mature, honestly. That was my first year kind of starting as a full-time quarterback in college. I think it was huge. It was a big stepping stone for me to kind of get those games under my belt. So now going into this season, I could kind of not know what to expect, but I have a pretty good feel for the game. You know what I'm saying? I could be more efficient, and I'm able to watch myself and see what I did on tape that I could improve on and be better this upcoming season.
And we know that someone who is hoping to benefit from the addition of Murphy is wide receiver Darius Clemens, the Westview High grad and former 5-star recruit. He is hoping to have this bounce-back season after a somewhat lackluster year. Of course, last year, he did start the season hurt last year, but Clemens feels like there's already a great chemistry building between him and his new QB.
I feel like it's really grown. Like in the spring, it was kind of just like a rep thing. We had done the reps. I feel like this summer, with the time we spent together and the work we put in, we grew. We're better friends now. I could say he's one of my better friends on this team in life. So really happy to have him around. He's a great presence in the locker room, great teammate, and above all else, great guy to be around.
Oregon State's leading receiver last year, Trent Walker, is also returning to play his senior season. Walker is also a former O-Prep star, playing his high school ball at Beaverton High. Now, last year, the Beavers played a Mountain West schedule, but that is no longer, as they will play this mismatched of opponents this season. And yes, this is going to be the final year of just the 2 Pac-12 schools of Oregon State and Washington State before things do expand in 2026. But let's take a look at what the Beavers are preparing to face this season. So they are going to open things up on August 30th. That's when they host former Pac-12 foe, California. Then Fresno State will be coming to town. Well, OSU's first road game is that tough one that Mike Parker was talking about earlier in the show. Yeah, taking on a Texas Tech squad that starts the year ranked 23rd in the AP poll. And that will be followed by a big one against the Ducks on September 20th in Eugene. So circle your calendar for that one. Then the Beavs do host former Washington State head coach Jake Dickert and Wake Forest on October 11th. Well, it is a rare home-and-home against Wazoo starting November 1st in Corvallis and then closing out the regular season against the Cougs at the end of the month on November 29th. And the start of the college football season, it is getting a lot more real, and maybe that's because the highly anticipated AP preseason top 25 poll, it has been unveiled. Texas starts the season ranked #1 in all the land, followed by Big Ten powerhouses, Penn State and Ohio State. Okay, then you've got Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame. They round out the top 6. And just like the coaches poll, the Oregon Ducks, well, they are starting off in identical positions. They are ranked #7, and they did get 1 first place vote. The Beavers will take on a pair of preseason top 25 opponents, of course, taking on that number 23 Texas Tech squad in September out there in Lubbock. And then following that, after that September 13th matchup, They will be taking on the Oregon Ducks September 20th. Okay, looking at the schedule and the AP top 25 poll, I mean, that has got us all excited here at KOIN 6 and Portland CW. And just a reminder, you can still watch select Oregon State home games live on the CW all season long. So check your local listings. But for now, that's a wrap on this Beaver show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this college kickoff preview on the Oregon State Beavers. Enjoy this season, Beaver fans. Yeah. Let the year begin. We'll see you soon.